Hey, what's up? Sorry I've been gone. I've been doing that self-care been popping vitamin D for these freezing Missouri months, veggie supplements to supplement my lack of veggies, trying to thrive in these trying times, and boy are times trying. I've seen The Brutalist, I saw Companion, I saw A Real Pain, all of which were good to great. I might make a Brutalist video at some point, but I just had nothing to say other than that I thought it was incredible. I need to see again before I feel like I could flesh my thoughts out enough to warrant asking for your time. But also, where I've been is playing Marvel Rivals more than any man in his 30s who does not stream on Twitch should play. And look, I won't get into the details very much about the game, but my main is the Winter Soldier. I love this character. And as we all know, of course, the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes, was played by Sebastian Stan in the titular Captain America the Winter Soldier back in whatever. It was my introduction to Stan as an actor, and when you're playing a superhero in a superhero movie like that, it's hard to really get a baseline for their range as a performer. Then I saw Sebastian Stan in that horror rom-com Fresh alongside Daisy Edgar jonesing for a more charismatic actress. Shots fired, I'm kinda kidding. But I saw a movie a couple weeks ago starring him that left me sitting there with my jaw on the floor and my brain dripping out of my ears. A Different Man. A Different Man is a fantasy/comedy/drama written and directed by Aaron Schimberg and is about aspiring actor Edward, who suffers from a brutal, potentially unnamed disease that has turned his face straight up Elephant Man. He learns of a radical medical procedure that would make him normal and cure this deformity. He does the procedure, and what transpires in the movie from that point on is one of the most clever, funny, and tragic stories I saw all year, and I just want to talk about it if that's cool with y'all. I've seen comparisons to Charlie Kaufman when discussing this movie, and while I understand it, I don't see that influence as glaringly obvious, nor do I think it takes away from the original work we get here. The movie does play with fable logic. It's dreamlike, but it's very much reality still, just storybook reality. It's ever so slightly exaggerated, especially from the perspective of Edward. More nightmare than dream, but the nightmarish elements are so personal to Edward, they are so internal. This is a more existential movie than I realized going in. The reality of the film will openly indulge with its own themes visually, framing things up just for us so we can see the world the way Edward sees it. Snap zooms are integral to the character moments. For example, see, Edward fixes his face and then becomes romantically and creatively involved with his neighbor, who he lies to and says he used to know Edward, but he's someone else named Guy. His neighbor is a playwright who wants to make a play about her time knowing this neighbor she had with this deformity. Edward will star as the lead, playing himself. He wears a mask of what his face used to look like. Then one day, out of the blue, a man named Oswald shows up with the same facial deformity that Edward has, except Oswald is the life of the fucking party. He's talented, humble, social, funny, charismatic, probably's got a huge hog on him. A Different Man is mainly centered on the existential crisis Edward goes through once he is faced with a man who did not succumb to the same mental struggles, despite sharing the exact same affliction. Edward thought it was look good, feel good, but Oswald proves it might just be feel good, look good, or something like that. I don't know. This all sounds like a real bummer, trauma porn type shit, but see, I love this movie because within its misery, it is hilarious. When we first meet Edward, for example, the opening scene of the film, he's on the set of a workplace video about how to treat people with deformities or just how to treat people that are different from you around the workplace. And the video is so on the side of the normal people in the most satirical way. And the scene he's in is supposed to be him hiding from his coworkers due to some sort of pain or episode caused by his condition. And the director says cut and tells him to do it again, but this time not so painful. Just kind of dizzy, don't actually tap into what it's like for you. We don't want to make it uncomfortable. We don't need to see everything. The face is enough. And once Edward has a normal face, he realizes a couple of things, or at least we realize a couple things about him, even if he's not aware of them himself. His affliction ran his life, and he placed so much weight on that face, such a heavy burden, that if he could get it cured, finally the amazing intellectual person he saw himself as would spring forth for the world to see. Not thinking for one second that if he could just be that inspiration, be that guy, the face wouldn't matter. Not only that, but to be someone with an incredible self-image image and drive and ambition and the affliction, he would be that much more inspiring and charismatic. Enter Oswald. Oswald enters the movie and upends Edward's life. He fixed his face, and the second he does, someone comes in with the same face and takes his girl, takes his gig, and takes his life. And with not a single ounce of malice or ill intent on the part of Oswald. He is practically blameless in this movie, and it's hilarious. I love that. Here's some other things I just loved in A Different Man. Pre-transition, Edward is seen staring at one of those gold-painted performance artists that stand stock still in the street for pocket change. He's seeing a normal man become a freak for money. The golden statue is so effective as a parallel to Edward, saying a lot with very little. He's seeing this guy who gets paid to be a freak, to be an anomaly. He's not even an actor like Edward, but he lures in so much positivity somehow, just by having the balls and confidence to do that job. But Edward also has this hint of anger on his face about this man, maybe because he's making himself into a freak on purpose, even though he doesn't have to be an anomaly 24/7 like Ed. It's like blackface to him. That scene is up for interpretation, but I found it to be a really brilliant moment on some juxtaposition type shit. There's also an ice cream truck next to an ambulance at one point. I thought that was pretty striking, among other moments like that. I'm telling you, this movie knows what it's doing. I love that every background actor in this movie side-eyes or looks over in shock at Edward in every single scene pre-transition. It has an almost subconscious effect on us and immerses us into the POV of our main character. We are just as paranoid and ashamed and anxious. I love that even after he's normal, other characters will still point out blemishes or zits on his face. Him wearing the mask of his old face on his new face to perform in the play about himself with the old face is absolutely crazy. You know, people notice both way too much and not enough about you. People will stare at you the same amount, whether it's a zit or elephantitis or whatever. People will always have a reason to stare, compare, judge, or avoid. And it's our job not to prove them wrong or to make them sorry or to gain their affection or adoration. You just gotta do everything in your power to make yourself happy. Not with fame or money or pleasure. I'm talking about serotonin, not dopamine. Find peace within yourself. Feel good, look good, brother. Another thing I noticed is that the body horror elements in this are done really well, and they're really upsetting and gross and horrific, but it's ironic that the nastiest parts of the movie are during his transition from nasty to normal. It's frightening because Edward is so frightened. He's such a fucking mess in this movie, because even after he's normal, he's still exactly who he's been internally. There's been zero change. My mother used to always tell me, wherever you go, there you are. Edward has been this socially inept, emotionally fucked up guy for as long as he's been deformed. There's a reason the director shows pictures of him as a child, telling us he hasn't been like this forever. It was a burden that fell upon him randomly at some point, and he let that external factor define him and ruin him. The affliction has crushed his spirit, and the change necessary doesn't happen overnight. Edward is one of the most interesting and well-defined characters I've seen in a while, expertly performed by Sebastian Stan. The nominations are very much deserved. Easily one of my favorite male lead performances of 2024. I cannot recommend this movie enough. If you haven't seen it, go see it so we can talk about it.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I would love to talk more about this movie down in the comments, because being surreal, there were tons of things in my notes that I could comment on, but it ended up just looking like a really fractured script, and it was all over the place, and so was this, but oh well, you know. Hey, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like if you want. See you guys. Bye.